Welcome, friends, to another gentle journey into the mysterious depths of Minecraft. Tonight, we will be exploring one of the game's most haunting discoveries, the ancient city and its fearsome guardian, the Warden. These sprawling ruins, hidden far beneath the surface in the darkest corners of the deep, dark biome, have captured the imagination of players since their arrival. They whisper of a civilization lost to time, of builders who ventured too deep and paid a terrible price. The Warden, blind yet impossibly aware, stalks these halls with a presence that transforms exploration into something primal and tense. Together, the ancient city and its guardian create an atmosphere unlike any other in Minecraft, a place where silence becomes survival and curiosity must be balanced with caution. This video is crafted to carry you into sleep as we slowly unravel the secrets, the theories, and the strange beauty hidden within these underground ruins. Let the facts wash over you like the darkness of the deep dark itself, calm and enveloping. If you enjoy these bedtime explorations, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And tell me, where are you listening from tonight as you drift toward rest? The ancient city was introduced to Minecraft in the Wild Update, version 1.19, which was released in June of 2022. This update brought significant changes to world generation, exploration, and the underground experience. Players had been waiting for new content to discover deep below the surface, and the ancient city delivered something far more atmospheric and unsettling than many expected. Unlike other structures that reward bravery with treasure, the ancient city punishes carelessness with danger. It is not a place meant to be rushed through or conquered easily. Instead, it asks players to move slowly, to listen, and to respect the silence that hangs heavy in its corridors. The ancient city generates exclusively in the deep dark biome, which itself is found only at the deepest levels of the overworld, typically below Y level -52. This placement ensures that reaching the city requires significant effort and preparation. Players must dig deep, navigate cave systems, and often tunnel through layers of stone and deep slate before they ever glimpse the eerie glow of soul lanterns that mark the city's presence. The journey downward mirrors the descent into myth, as though players are traveling not just through stone but through layers of forgotten history. The deep dark biome is unlike any other in Minecraft. It is covered in a strange, dark substance called skulk, which spreads across the ground like a living carpet. Skulk blocks emit faint particles and seem to pulse with an unsettling energy, as though the biome itself is aware of movement. This skulk is not merely decorative. It is tied to the mechanics of the Warden and the danger that lurks within the darkness. Walking across skulk creates vibrations, and vibrations summon attention. The entire biome feels alive, watchful, and unwelcoming, setting the tone before the ancient city even comes into view. Ancient cities are massive structures, sprawling across the caverns of the deep dark in a labyrinth of corridors, plazas, and ruined buildings. Unlike villages or temples, which are compact and easily understood, the ancient city stretches out in all directions, its layout organic and irregular. Some sections are intact, with stairs leading to upper levels and bridges connecting towers. Other areas have crumbled, leaving gaps and broken walls that hint at age and decay. The structure feels lived in, as though it once housed a population that moved through these halls with purpose and life. Now, only silence and skulk remain. The architecture of the ancient city is distinct and haunting. It is built primarily from deep slate and its variants, dark gray blocks that blend into the surrounding stone. Accents of basalt and black stone add texture, while soul lanterns cast a dim blue glow that barely pierces the darkness. The lanterns themselves are eerie, their light cold and spectral, nothing like the warm glow of torches or the bright safety of lanterns in the overworld. These soul lanterns seem to emphasize the emptiness rather than fill it, as though they are markers of something lost rather than something welcoming. Throughout the city, players will find reinforced deep slate, a block that cannot be mined or broken by any tool available in survival mode. This block appears in clusters, often surrounding hidden chambers or sealing off passages. Its presence raises questions about what it protects and why it was placed with such permanence. Some players theorize that these blocks guard the most dangerous secrets of the city, areas that even the ancient builders feared to open. Others believe they are simply structural supports, holding the ruins together after centuries of decay. Either way, their indestructibility adds to the sense that the city holds mysteries beyond reach. The centerpiece of many ancient cities is a massive portal-like structure, built from reinforced deep slate and arranged in a rectangular frame. It resembles the nether portal in shape, but is made of unbreakable material and cannot be activated by any known means. In the middle of the frame, skulk shriekers and skulk veins grow, suggesting that whatever once powered this portal has been consumed or corrupted by the spread of skulk. Players have speculated endlessly about what this portal might have led to, with theories ranging from alternate dimensions to lost civilizations to realms even darker than the deep dark itself. Loot in the ancient cities is both plentiful and dangerous to retrieve. Chests are hidden throughout the structure, tucked into corners, buried beneath skulk, or placed in plain sight, but surrounded by sensors. These chests contain valuable items like enchanted golden apples, echo shards, music discs, and rare enchantments. However, reaching them often requires navigating fields of skulk sensors and shriekers, which detect movement and sound the alarm. The risk-reward balance is carefully designed, forcing players to decide whether the treasure is worth the danger of awakening the Warden. Echo shards are one of the most unique items found in ancient city chests. These fragments are used to craft the recovery compass, an item that points to the location where a player last died. The lore implication of echo shards is fascinating. They seem tied to memory, to echoes of the past, much like the city itself. Finding them scattered in the ruins suggests that the ancient builders understood death and loss in ways that players are only beginning to explore. The shards are not just materials but symbols, remnants of a culture that perhaps sought to remember what was lost. The Warden is the guardian of the ancient city, a massive, blind creature that spawns in response to noise and vibration. Unlike other hostile mobs that spawn naturally in darkness or based on biome conditions, the Warden is summoned by player activity. It does not exist until called forth by repeated disturbances, as though it sleeps beneath the skulk and only rises when the city is threatened. This mechanic transforms the Warden from a simple enemy into a consequence, a punishment for carelessness. It is not a mob to be fought, but a force to be avoided. The Warden stands taller than an iron golem and is one of the most visually striking creatures in Minecraft. Its body is covered in skulk-like textures, with glowing veins of turquoise light pulsing across its chest and limbs. These veins seem to respond to sound, brightening when the Warden detects vibrations. The creature has no eyes, its face smooth and blank except for the horns that protrude from its head. This eyeless design reinforces its reliance on sound and vibration, making it a predator perfectly adapted to the darkness of the deep dark. The Warden's health pool is enormous, the highest of any mob in Minecraft. It has 500 health points, compared to the Ender Dragon's 200. This staggering durability makes it nearly impossible to kill in a direct fight, especially for unprepared players. Even fully enchanted diamond or netherite gear struggles to bring the Warden down before it overwhelms the player with its devastating attacks. The developers designed it not to be defeated but to be feared and fled from, a rare enemy in Minecraft that encourages retreat over confrontation. The Warden's attack power is equally terrifying. A single melee strike from the Warden can deal between 30 and 45 damage, enough to kill a player in full netherite armor in just 2 hits. This raw power forces players to rethink their strategies, as tanking damage is simply not an option. The Warden is not an enemy to be blocked or endured, but one that must be outmaneuvered, outsmarted, or avoided entirely. Its strength is a reminder that not every challenge in Minecraft is meant to be solved with combat. In addition to its melee attacks, the Warden has a ranged sonic boom attack. When a player is too far away to reach with physical strikes, the Warden charges energy in its chest, the glowing veins intensifying before it releases a wave of sound. This sonic boom travels through blocks and bypasses armor, dealing direct damage to the player's health bar. The attack is devastating and impossible to block, reinforcing the idea that distance alone is not safety. The Warden can reach players no matter where they hide, making it one of the most dangerous mobs in the game. The Warden's movement is slow and deliberate when it is searching, but when it locks onto a target, it becomes surprisingly fast. It can close distance quickly, sniffing the air and following vibrations with relentless focus. Its animation as it hunts is unsettling, the massive creature lowering its head and sweeping it side to side as though tasting the air for traces of movement. This predatory behavior makes encounters with the Warden feel primal, as though players are being hunted by something ancient and unstoppable. The Warden is blind and relies entirely on sound and vibration to detect players. This mechanic is tied to the skulk sensors scattered throughout the ancient city. When a player walks, jumps, breaks blocks, or performs almost any action, vibrations ripple through the skulk. Skulk sensors pick up these vibrations and relay them to skulk shriekers, which in turn alert the Warden. After 3 shrieker activations, the Warden spawns, emerging from the ground in a cloud of darkness and particles. This summoning process is both mechanical and atmospheric, creating a sense of dread as players realize they have triggered something terrible. Sneaking is the primary way to avoid detection in the ancient city. When a player crouches, their movements produce no vibrations, allowing them to pass over skulk sensors without triggering them. This transforms exploration into a slow, careful process where every step must be deliberate. The tension of sneaking through the city, knowing that one misstep could summon the Warden, creates an experience unlike any other in Minecraft. It is survival horror distilled into blocks and code, where silence is the only shield. Wool blocks can be used to muffle vibrations, as they do not transmit signals to skulk sensors. Players can place wool on the ground to create safe paths through the city, or wear wool-trimmed leather armor to reduce the sounds they make. This mechanic encourages creative problem-solving, turning the challenge of the ancient city into a puzzle as much as a survival scenario. By using wool strategically, players can carve out safe zones in the heart of danger, small pockets of silence in a place where sound means death. Throwing projectiles like snowballs or eggs can distract the Warden by creating vibrations in other locations. When the Warden detects a noise, it moves toward the source, allowing players to slip past or create escape routes. This mechanic rewards quick thinking and resource management, as players must balance the need to stay quiet with the occasional need to misdirect the Guardian. The Warden is powerful but not omniscient, and clever players can use its reliance on sound against it. The Warden has a unique mechanic called darkness, a status effect it applies to nearby players. When inflicted with darkness, the player's vision is significantly reduced, the screen dimming until only a small circle around them is visible. This effect does not merely lower light levels, but actively obscures vision, making navigation and combat nearly impossible. The darkness effect stacks with the already dim lighting of the ancient city, creating a sensory deprivation experience that heightens fear and disorientation. It is as though the Warden brings the void with it, swallowing the world in shadow. If a player manages to escape the Warden's detection range and remain silent for a full minute, the Warden will eventually burrow back into the ground and despawn. This escape mechanic offers hope, but requires patience and discipline. Players must resist the urge to run or break blocks, instead hiding in place and waiting for the threat to pass. The minute-long timer feels much longer in the tension of the moment, every second stretching as the Warden sniffs and searches nearby. When it finally sinks back into the skulk, the relief is immense, a rare moment of victory through avoidance rather than combat. The Warden drops a single skulk catalyst when killed, an item that can be used to spread skulk across other blocks. This drop is intentionally underwhelming compared to the effort required to defeat the creature, reinforcing the design philosophy that the Warden is not meant to be farmed or hunted. The developers wanted players to see the Warden as a challenge to survive, not a resource to exploit. The Skulk Catalyst is a trophy, proof that the player faced the Guardian and lived, but it offers little practical reward beyond that. Skulk blocks themselves are a fascinating element of the deep dark ecosystem. They generate naturally in the biome and can also spread through the Skulk Catalyst when mobs die nearby. The catalyst absorbs experience from fallen creatures, converting it into skulk growth. This process creates an eerie visual of the biome slowly consuming the remnants of life, turning death into dark, pulsing matter. The implication is that Skulk thrives on death, that it feeds on the experience and energy of living things. This raises questions about the nature of the ancient city and what might have caused the Skulk to spread so completely through its halls. Skulk sensors are the eyes and ears of the deep dark. These blocks detect vibrations within a 9-block radius, lighting up with glowing spots when they sense movement. They emit a redstone signal when triggered, which can activate nearby mechanisms or alert Skulk shriekers. The sensors are visually striking, their surfaces covered in tendrils that wave gently, almost like cilia or nerve endings. This organic appearance reinforces the idea that Skulk is not merely stone but something alive, a network of sensation and response that blankets the biome. Skulk shriekers are the alarm system of the ancient city. When activated by a Skulk sensor or by direct player interaction, they emit a loud, unsettling shriek that echoes through the caverns. Each shriek increases a hidden warning level for the player, tracked individually. After 3 shrieks, the Warden spawns. The shriekers themselves are visually distinct, with a gaping maw in the center that glows when they cry out. They resemble something between a plant and a creature, their design evoking unease and unease. Their sound is one of the most memorable in Minecraft, a wailing cry that signals imminent danger. Skulk veins are smaller, decorative versions of Skulk that spread across walls and ceilings. They do not have mechanical functions like sensors or shriekers, but contribute to the atmosphere of the biome. The veins create the impression that Skulk is creeping through the city like a fungus or mold, slowly reclaiming the ruins. Their presence on every surface reinforces the sense that the deep dark is a place of decay, where the remnants of the past are being consumed by something darker and older. The ancient city contains redstone mechanisms scattered throughout its structure, including hidden doors, secret passages, and trapped chests. Some of these mechanisms are simple, opening with a lever or button, while others require more complex activation. These redstone contraptions hint that the ancient builders were advanced in their understanding of mechanics and engineering, capable of creating systems that still function centuries later. Exploring these mechanisms feels like uncovering the work of a lost civilization, piecing together their knowledge from the ruins they left behind. One particularly intriguing feature of the ancient city is the central shrine-like area, often located near the unbreakable portal frame. This area is surrounded by soul lanterns, candles, and carpets, creating a ceremonial atmosphere. The layout suggests that this was a place of importance, perhaps a site of worship, ritual, or communication. Some players theorize that the portal was used in ceremonies to reach other dimensions, while others believe it was a gateway the builders could not fully control. The shrine raises questions about the beliefs and practices of the ancient civilization that built the city. The presence of soul lanterns throughout the ancient city is significant. Soul lanterns are crafted using soul soil or soul sand, materials found in the nether. This suggests a connection between the ancient builders and the nether dimension, implying that they had the knowledge and resources to travel between worlds. The use of soul fire, rather than ordinary flames, adds to the eerie atmosphere, casting a cold blue light that feels ghostly and unwelcoming. It is as though the city is lit by the remnants of souls, trapped in lanterns that never go out. Candles are another decorative element found in the ancient city, often placed on tables or in clusters around important areas. These candles are unlit, adding to the sense of abandonment. Players can light them, but they serve no mechanical purpose beyond ambiance. The presence of candles suggests domestic life, moments of calm and ritual within the city. It is easy to imagine the ancient builders gathering around these flames, sharing stories or performing rites, before whatever catastrophe befell them silenced the halls forever. The ancient city often includes large, open plazas with pathways radiating outward like spokes on a wheel. These plazas were likely gathering places, centers of activity where the population would meet, trade, or celebrate. Now, they are empty, filled only with skulk and the faint glow of soul lanterns. Walking through these spaces feels melancholy, as though the echoes of laughter and conversation have long since faded, leaving only silence and shadow. The design of the plazas suggests a culture that valued community and connection, making their absence all the more poignant. Bridges and elevated walkways connect different sections of the city, some intact and others crumbling into the void below. These structures add verticality to the city's layout, forcing players to navigate not only horizontally but also up and down. The height differences create additional danger, as a fall from a bridge can lead to injury or death, especially if the landing alerts skulk sensors and summons the Warden. The bridges also offer stunning views of the city's scale, allowing players to see just how massive and intricate the structure truly is. Some ancient cities generate with large, open chambers that resemble halls or throne rooms. These spaces are vast and imposing, their ceilings high and their walls lined with pillars. The grandeur of these chambers suggests that they were built for important purposes, perhaps as places of governance, judgment, or ceremony. Standing in these halls, surrounded by silence and skulk, players cannot help but wonder what events once took place here and what voices once echoed off the stone walls. The emptiness is overwhelming, a void where life and history once thrived. The floors of the ancient city are often layered, with some areas built on top of older sections. This vertical layering suggests that the city was expanded over time, with new construction built upon the foundations of earlier work. It creates the impression of a civilization that existed for many years, perhaps even centuries, growing and changing before its eventual downfall. Players exploring the lower levels might feel as though they are moving backward through time, descending not just physically but historically into the oldest parts of the city. Barrels and chests are scattered throughout the ancient city, often hidden in corners or behind walls. These containers hold the loot that draws many players to the city, but they also serve as narrative elements. The presence of stored goods suggests preparation, as though the ancient builders were hoarding resources for a future that never came. Some chests are found in what appear to be living quarters, containing mundane items like food or tools. Others are locked away in vaults, filled with treasures that hint at wealth and power. Each chest tells a small story of the people who once lived here. The music disc, Other Side, can be found in ancient city chests, a track that is both haunting and beautiful. The music begins with unsettling sounds, distorted and echoing, before shifting into a melody that feels distant and dreamlike. Listening to it evokes a sense of loss and longing, as though the track is a memory of something better, now faded. The inclusion of this disc in the city's loot ties music to the lore, suggesting that the ancient builders valued art and expression even in their darkest moments. Another music disc, 5, is also exclusive to ancient city loot. This track is more ambient, filled with deep, resonant tones and faint echoes. It feels meditative and somber, a reflection on silence and emptiness. Playing 5 within the halls of the ancient city creates a powerful atmosphere, the music blending with the environment to evoke a sense of mourning. These discs are not just collectibles, but pieces of the city's soul, fragments of its culture preserved in sound. The absence of beds in the ancient city is notable. Despite clear signs of habitation tables, chests, storage rooms, there are no places for the ancient builders to sleep. This omission has sparked theories that the builders did not sleep, either because they had transcended the need or because something prevented them from resting. Others suggest that the beds were removed or destroyed, perhaps during the disaster that consumed the city. The lack of beds adds to the unsettling feeling that the city was not a true home but a place of labor, ritual, or exile. Bookshelves are occasionally found in ancient cities, often in clusters that resemble libraries or study areas. These bookshelves are empty, their contents long lost, but their presence suggests that the ancient builders valued knowledge and learning. The sight of empty shelves is melancholic, a reminder of everything that has been forgotten. Some players imagine that these libraries once held texts explaining the city's purpose, the portal's function, and the origins of the skulk. Now, those answers are gone, leaving only questions. The Warden's design is intentionally reminiscent of Skulk, with its textured body and glowing veins mirroring the blocks that fill the deep dark. This visual similarity suggests a deep connection between the Warden and the Skulk itself. Some theories propose that the Warden is not a creature in the traditional sense, but a manifestation of the Skulk's will, a guardian formed from the living darkness. Others believe that the Warden was once a different being, transformed by exposure to Skulk until it became what it is now. Either interpretation reinforces the idea that the Skulk is more than terrain. It is an entity with purpose and power. The Warden's heartbeat sound is one of the most atmospheric audio elements in Minecraft. When the Warden is searching, players can hear a deep, rhythmic thump echoing through the caverns, like the beating of a massive heart. This sound creates tension, signaling that the Warden is near but not yet locked onto the player. The heartbeat grows louder as the Warden gets closer, building dread with every pulse. It is a masterful use of sound design, turning an invisible threat into an auditory presence that dominates the player's attention. The Warden sniffs when it is trying to locate a player, its head sweeping back and forth as it samples the air. This behavior suggests that the Warden has senses beyond hearing, perhaps able to detect scent or heat. The sniffing animation is slow and deliberate, adding to the creature's predatory aura. It feels methodical, as though the Warden is patient and confident in its ability to find its prey. This patience is terrifying, as it means the Warden will not give up easily, will not be rushed or distracted for long. When the Warden detects a player and locks onto them, it roars, a deep guttural sound that reverberates through the stone. This roar is both a warning and a declaration, announcing that the hunt has begun. The sound is designed to instill fear, its volume and depth shaking the very air. Players who hear this roar know that they have been found, that the Warden is coming, and that their only hope is to run, hide, or fight with everything they have. The roar transforms the encounter from tense exploration into desperate survival. The Warden can climb up blocks and navigate terrain with surprising agility for its size. It does not get stuck easily and can pursue players through complex environments, vaulting over obstacles and squeezing through gaps. This mobility makes it difficult to escape, as players cannot simply build walls or retreat to high ground. The Warden's ability to adapt to the environment reinforces its role as an unstoppable force, a predator that cannot be easily evaded. Some ancient cities generate partially flooded with water, adding an additional layer of challenge. Water slows movement, making it harder to sneak quietly, and can create vibrations when players swim. The presence of water also limits visibility, as the dim light of soul lanterns struggles to penetrate the murky depths. Exploring these flooded sections requires careful planning, as the combination of water, skulk sensors, and the Warden creates a uniquely dangerous environment. The flooded areas feel even more abandoned, as though the city was claimed not only by skulk, but by the slow encroachment of underground springs and rivers. The deep dark biome, and by extension the ancient city, is one of the quietest places in Minecraft. Unlike other biomes where ambient sounds like wind, water, or animal calls fill the air, the deep dark is nearly silent. This absence of sound creates a vacuum that players instinctively want to fill, making their own footsteps and breathing feel louder than they are. The silence is oppressive, a weight that presses down on the player and heightens the fear of making noise. In this way, the environment itself becomes a source of tension, even before the Warden appears. The lore implications of the ancient city are vast and open to interpretation. The most popular theory is that the city was built by an advanced civilization that delved too deep, either seeking resources, knowledge, or escape from something on the surface. Their excavation disturbed the skulk, which spread through the city and consumed its inhabitants. The Warden may be a creation of this civilization, a guardian designed to protect the city, but corrupted by the skulk into something hostile. Alternatively, the Warden could be something older, a creature of the deep that the builders accidentally awakened. Both interpretations paint a picture of hubris and consequence, of a people who reached too far and paid the price. Some players theorize that the ancient city was a prison, a place where dangerous individuals or creatures were kept far from the surface. The reinforced deep slate could be the remains of cells or containment chambers, and the portal might have been used to transport prisoners to other dimensions. The skulk, in this theory, is either a byproduct of whatever was imprisoned or a deliberate security measure, designed to alert guards or trap escapees. The Warden, then, would be the final line of defense, ensuring that nothing leaves the city. This interpretation adds a darker layer to the ruins, suggesting that the silence hides not only history but also horrors. Another theory suggests that the ancient city was a place of worship, dedicated to entities or forces connected to the skulk or the void. The central portal could have been an altar or gateway used in rituals, and the warden a deity or servant of the powers the builders venerated. The spread of skulk would then be a blessing or curse from these entities, a transformation of the city into a holy site or a prison. This religious interpretation frames the ancient city as a place where the boundaries between the material and the divine were blurred, where the builders sought communion with forces they could not control. Some fans connect the ancient city to the end dimension, noting similarities between skulk and the textures of end stone and purpur. Both have organic alien qualities, and both are associated with darkness and void. The theory suggests that the ancient builders were attempting to reach the end through the portal, either to escape their world or to harness the power of the Ender Dragon. The skulk, in this view, is a corruption caused by exposure to the end, a slow transformation of the city into something closer to that dimension. The Warden could be a hybrid creature, born from the mingling of overworld and end energies. The ancient city's depth far below the surface, in the darkest layers of the world, adds symbolic weight to its story. Descending to the city feels like a journey into the underworld, a crossing of boundaries into a realm where the rules of the surface no longer apply. The darkness, the silence, and the presence of the Warden all reinforce the feeling that players are trespassing in a place they were never meant to find. The city becomes a threshold, a space between life and death, light and shadow, knowledge and ignorance. Players often describe the ancient city as one of the most atmospheric locations in Minecraft. The combination of visual design, sound, and mechanics creates an experience that feels cohesive and immersive. Every element, from the soul lanterns to the skulk sensors to the Warden's roar, works together to build tension and evoke emotion. The city is not just a place to explore, but a story to experience, a narrative told through environment rather than words. This environmental storytelling is one of Minecraft's greatest strengths, and the ancient city is perhaps its finest example. The experience of exploring the ancient city changes with each visit. On the first trip, players are cautious and fearful, unsure of what to expect. They sneak carefully, avoid shriekers, and flee at the first sign of the Warden. On subsequent visits, they become more confident, learning the layout and developing strategies to loot efficiently. Eventually, the city becomes familiar, its dangers understood and manageable. Yet even experienced players often admit that the ancient city retains its power to unsettle, that walking its halls never feels completely safe. This lasting tension is a testament to the quality of its design. The Warden's inability to be easily killed has made it a subject of fascination for challenge-focused players. Some have taken on the task of defeating the Warden using specific gear, tactics, or restrictions, turning the fight into a test of skill and endurance. These challenges often require perfect timing, strategic use of terrain, and creative problem-solving. Videos of Warden defeats showcase the mob's power while also demonstrating the ingenuity of the Minecraft community. The Warden becomes not just a threat but a benchmark, a measure of a player's mastery over the game's mechanics. Speedrunners largely avoid the ancient city, as the risks far outweigh the rewards in the context of a timed run. The city's loot, while valuable, is not essential for reaching the end or defeating the Ender Dragon. The time required to navigate the city carefully is better spent on other tasks, and the danger of summoning the Warden makes it a risky detour. However, some speedrunners have experimented with ancient city routes, particularly in categories that involve collecting specific items. These runs add a layer of tension, as the player must balance speed with stealth, knowing that a single mistake could end the attempt. The ancient city has inspired countless builds and recreations in creative mode. Players construct their own versions of the ruins, adding details and expanding on the lore suggested by the original structure. Some builds focus on restoring the city to its former glory, imagining what it might have looked like before the skulk spread. Others lean into the horror, creating even darker, more oppressive versions of the city designed to frighten and unsettle. These creative interpretations show how deeply the ancient city resonates with the community, sparking imagination and storytelling. In multiplayer servers, the ancient city often becomes a communal challenge. Groups of players venture into the deep dark together, coordinating their movements and supporting each other in moments of danger. The shared experience of exploring the city, fleeing from the Warden, and celebrating successful loot runs creates memorable moments. The city becomes a social space, a place where friendships are tested and cooperation is rewarded. These multiplayer experiences add another dimension to the ancient city's legacy, transforming it from a solo challenge into a shared adventure. The ancient city also serves as a reminder of Minecraft's evolution. When the game first began, it was a simple sandbox focused on building and basic survival. Over the years, it has grown to include complex structures, intricate lore, and atmospheric locations like the ancient city. This evolution reflects the developer's commitment to expanding the game while maintaining its core identity. The ancient city is proof that Minecraft can be both a creative playground and a place of mystery, offering experiences that range from lighthearted building to tense survival horror. The Warden's design and mechanics have influenced discussions about difficulty in Minecraft. The game has traditionally been forgiving, with most threats manageable through preparation and skill. The Warden disrupts this balance, introducing a challenge that cannot be easily overcome through brute force. This has sparked debate within the community about whether the Warden is too difficult, perfectly balanced, or even too easy for experienced players. These discussions highlight the diversity of the player base, with different groups seeking different experiences from the game. The Skulk Catalyst, dropped by the Warden, can be used to create skulk farms, where players intentionally kill mobs to spread skulk across other areas. These farms are primarily aesthetic, used to create eerie builds or replicate the atmosphere of the deep dark in other locations. The farms also demonstrate the community's tendency to turn every mechanic into a tool for creativity, finding uses for items and systems that the developers may not have anticipated. The Skulk Catalyst becomes not just a trophy but a resource for artistic expression. The Warden's inability to despawn naturally, once summoned, creates a persistent threat. If a player flees without fully escaping its detection range, the Warden will continue to patrol the area, making it difficult to return. This persistence forces players to commit to their decisions, either face the Warden and deal with it, or leave the city entirely and wait for it to burrow back into the skulk. The mechanic adds weight to every action, reinforcing the idea that the ancient city is a place where mistakes have lasting consequences. The ancient builders, whoever they were, left no written records, no signs, no books that explain their purpose or fate. This absence is intentional, allowing players to project their own stories onto the ruins. Some imagine the builders as noble explorers, seeking knowledge and progress. Others see them as desperate refugees, fleeing a catastrophe on the surface. Still others view them as arrogant and foolish, delving into forces they could not understand. The lack of definitive answers makes the ancient city a canvas for imagination, a place where every player can find their own meaning. The soul lanterns that light the ancient city suggest a connection to the souls of the dead. In Minecraft, soul fire is associated with the nether, particularly soul sand and soul soil, materials said to be filled with the trapped souls of ancient beings. The use of soul fire in the ancient city implies that the builders had knowledge of the nether and its properties, and perhaps even used this knowledge in their rituals or construction. The cold, blue glow of soul fire adds to the city's ghostly atmosphere, as though the light itself is a remnant of lives long extinguished. The reinforced deep slate portal frame remains one of the greatest mysteries in Minecraft. Despite countless attempts by players to activate it, the portal has never been opened. Some theories suggest that future updates will introduce a way to activate it, possibly through rare items or specific conditions. Others believe it will remain inactive forever, a symbol of mysteries beyond reach. The portal stands as a reminder that not everything in Minecraft is meant to be solved, that some questions are better left unanswered, lingering in the imagination rather than resolved in code. The candles found throughout the ancient city are always unlit, which adds to the sense of abandonment and loss. Players can light them with flint and steel or fire charges, bringing brief warmth to the cold halls. Yet even when lit, the candles feel temporary, fragile flames in an ocean of darkness. The fact that they were left unlit suggests a sudden departure or disaster, as though the builders fled or perished before they could extinguish their lights properly. Each unlit candle becomes a small memorial, a marker of interrupted lives and routines that never resumed. The carpet found in certain areas of the ancient city, particularly near the central portal frame, adds a sense of ceremony and importance to those spaces. Carpets in Minecraft are typically decorative, used to mark places of significance or comfort. Their presence in the city suggests that the builders valued aesthetics and ritual, that they took time to beautify their surroundings even in the depths of the earth. The carpets are often in dark colors, gray, black, or deep blue, matching the somber tone of the city and reinforcing its funereal atmosphere. The wool found in some ancient city chests is another curious detail. Wool is soft, flammable, and typically associated with sheep and pastoral life on the surface. Finding it stored deep underground raises questions about trade routes, supply chains, or perhaps even the presence of sheep farms within or near the city. Alternatively, the wool could be a remnant of the builders' connection to the surface world, a material they brought with them as they descended. Either way, its presence is a small thread connecting the ancient city to the brighter, safer world above. Echo shards, found exclusively in ancient city chests, are among the most lore-rich items in Minecraft. These glowing fragments resemble crystallized sound or memory, their surfaces smooth and faintly luminous. When combined with a compass, they create the recovery compass, which points to the location of the player's last death. The connection between echoes, memory, and death is poetic and haunting. Echo shards suggest that the ancient builders understood loss intimately, that they sought ways to remember and perhaps even recover what was lost. The shards are not just items but symbols of grief and longing, remnants of a culture that valued remembrance. The recovery compass, crafted from echo shards, is unique in its function. Unlike a normal compass that points to the world spawn, the recovery compass points to the last place the player died, spinning aimlessly if the player has not yet died. This mechanic ties the compass to personal history, to the player's own journey through danger and failure. Using a recovery compass in the ancient city feels especially meaningful, as though the tool itself is an echo of the builder's attempts to navigate loss and return to places of significance. It is a compass not of direction but of memory. The sculk catalyst, while primarily a decorative block, has deeper implications for the lore of the deep dark. When a mob dies near a skulk catalyst, the catalyst absorbs the experience and spreads skulk to nearby blocks. This process creates the impression that skulk feeds on death, that it grows stronger with every life extinguished. In the context of the ancient city, this raises a chilling possibility. Perhaps the skulk spread because of the deaths of the builders themselves. Each life lost would have fed the skulk, accelerating its growth until the entire city was consumed. The catalyst becomes a monument to a cycle of death and consumption, a warning of what happens when life and skulk intersect. The warden's chest glows with an intense turquoise light, pulsing in rhythm with its heartbeat. This light is one of the most striking visual elements of the mob, drawing the eye even in the darkness of the deep dark. The glow intensifies when the warden detects vibrations or prepares to attack, creating a visual cue that signals danger. The color itself, bright, almost neon turquoise, is unlike anything else in Minecraft's natural palette, reinforcing the alien and unnatural qualities of the warden. It is as though the creature carries a piece of the skulk's energy within its body, a core of power that drives its relentless hunting. The warden's horns curve backward from its head, resembling the horns of ancient creatures or mythological beasts. These horns serve no apparent mechanical function, but add to the warden's imposing silhouette. They suggest age, power, and perhaps even a connection to older, more primal forces. In many cultures, horned beings are associated with guardianship, divinity, or monstrosity, and the warden embodies all three. The horns make the creature feel both ancient and eternal, as though it has existed in the deep dark for far longer than the city itself. The warden's animations are fluid and unsettling, with movements that feel both organic and alien. When it walks, its body sways slightly, its long arms swinging in rhythm with its steps. When it sniffs, its head tilts and sweeps in slow arcs, the motion deliberate and methodical. When it roars, its entire body tenses, the glowing veins on its chest blazing brighter before it unleashes its cry. These animations make the warden feel alive in ways that many Minecraft mobs do not, bridging the gap between simple game entity and believable creature. The sonic boom attack of the warden is visually represented by a ripple of energy that emanates from its chest, traveling through the air and striking the player. This attack bypasses all armor and shields, dealing pure damage directly to the health bar. The visual effect is brief but striking, a pulse of distorted air that warps the space between the warden and its target. The attack feels magical or technological, as though the warden is weaponizing sound itself. This makes the creature feel advanced, as though it operates on principles beyond simple physical violence. The warden's roar can be heard from a great distance, echoing through the caverns of the deep dark and alerting players long before they see the creature. This auditory warning is both a mercy and a source of dread, giving players time to prepare or flee, but also filling them with anticipation and fear. The roar is deep and resonant, a sound that seems to vibrate through the stone itself. Hearing it for the first time is an unforgettable experience, a moment when the danger of the ancient city shifts from abstract to immediate. The darkness effect applied by the warden is one of the most disorienting status effects in Minecraft. When inflicted, the player's screen dims dramatically, with only a small circle of vision remaining visible. This effect makes navigation nearly impossible, as landmarks disappear into shadow and the player loses their sense of direction. The darkness effect does not reduce actual light levels, but rather obscures vision directly, creating a psychological impact that goes beyond mechanics. It is as though the warden brings the void with it, swallowing the world in blackness and leaving the player isolated and vulnerable. The Warden's ability to climb and navigate complex terrain makes it one of the most persistent threats in Minecraft. Unlike many mobs that get stuck on obstacles or give up after a certain distance, the Warden pursues its target with relentless focus. It can climb blocks, navigate tight spaces, and even break through certain barriers if necessary. This adaptability makes encounters with the Warden feel dynamic and unpredictable, as players cannot rely on simple tricks or static defenses. The Warden is a hunter in every sense, and it will not stop until it has caught its prey or lost the trail entirely. The Warden's aggression is tied to a system called anger levels, which track how aware the Warden is of a specific player. As the player makes noise or triggers vibrations, the Warden's anger increases. Once the anger reaches a certain threshold, the Warden locks onto the player and becomes fully aggressive. If the player can avoid detection long enough, the anger level decreases, and the Warden eventually loses interest. This system creates a push and pull dynamic, where players must balance the need to move with the need to remain undetected. It turns every action into a calculated risk. The Warden's burrowing animation, when it despawns, is visually impressive. The creature sinks slowly into the skulk, its body dissolving into particles as it retreats back into the ground. The animation creates the impression that the Warden is not truly dying but merely returning to the skulk, waiting to be summoned again. This reinforces the idea that the Warden is not a traditional mob but a manifestation of the deep dark itself, a guardian that can be called forth whenever the city is disturbed. The burrowing suggests that the Warden is always there, always watching, just beneath the surface. The Warden does not drop experience when killed, which is unusual for a mob of its power and difficulty. This design choice reinforces the developer's intention that the Warden should be avoided rather than farmed. The lack of experience removes the incentive to repeatedly fight the creature, discouraging players from treating it as a resource. Instead, the Warden remains a threat to be respected, a challenge to be overcome only when necessary. This design philosophy is rare in Minecraft, where most mobs offer some reward for their defeat, but it makes the Warden feel special and distinct. The Warden's health regeneration is another mechanic that makes it difficult to defeat. If the Warden takes damage but is not killed quickly, it will begin to regenerate health over time. This means that players cannot simply chip away at its health from a distance, as any pause in combat allows the Warden to recover. The regeneration forces players to commit to the fight, to deal sustained damage without letting up. This mechanic turns battles with the Warden into tests of endurance and focus, where hesitation or retreat can erase all progress. The Warden's detection range is influenced by the player's actions. Louder actions, such as running, jumping, or breaking blocks, can be detected from farther away than quieter actions like sneaking or standing still. This creates a spectrum of risk, where players must constantly evaluate whether the benefit of moving quickly outweighs the danger of being detected. The system rewards patience and careful planning, turning exploration into a tactical puzzle. Every decision matters, and every action has consequences that ripple through the skulk. The Warden can detect vibrations through walls and solid blocks, which makes hiding behind barriers less effective than in encounters with other mobs. Players cannot simply wall themselves in and wait for the threat to pass, as the Warden will sense any movement or activity within range. This forces players to think beyond physical barriers, to consider sound and vibration as tangible threats. The mechanic adds depth to the survival challenge, requiring players to understand the game's systems on a deeper level. The Warden's presence has inspired countless player-created challenges and mini-games. Some players build arenas specifically designed for fighting the Warden, testing different strategies and gear setups. Others create escape rooms where the goal is to navigate a space filled with skulk sensors and shriekers without summoning the Warden. Still others design lore-driven adventures where the Warden plays a central role in the story. These community creations show how deeply the Warden has captured the imagination of players, inspiring creativity and innovation beyond the base game. The ancient city's connection to the void is evident in its design and atmosphere. The darkness, the depth, the silence, all of these elements evoke the concept of emptiness and nothingness. The city feels like a place on the edge of existence, a boundary between the world and the void. This thematic connection to the void ties the ancient city to broader questions about Minecraft's cosmology, about what lies beneath the bedrock and beyond the borders of the world. The city becomes a window into the unknown, a place where players can glimpse the edges of reality. The ancient city's generation algorithm ensures that no two cities are exactly alike. While they share common elements, skulk, soul lanterns, reinforced deep slate, the layout and structure vary significantly. Some cities are compact and maze-like, while others sprawl across multiple caverns. Some have intact bridges and towers, while others are crumbling ruins. This variability keeps exploration fresh, as players never know exactly what to expect when they descend into the deep dark. Each city feels unique, a distinct ruin with its own character and secrets. The experience of looting the ancient city changes depending on the player's approach. Some players prefer to move slowly and methodically, clearing skulk sensors and shriekers to create safe paths. Others adopt a speedrunning mentality, grabbing what they can and fleeing before the Warden spawns. Still others embrace the chaos, intentionally summoning the Warden and attempting to fight or evade it while looting. Each approach creates a different experience, showing how the city's design accommodates multiple playstyles. The flexibility of the challenge is part of what makes it so memorable. The ancient city has become a rite of passage for many players, a challenge that marks the transition from casual survivor to experienced adventurer. Descending into the deep dark, navigating the skulk, and retrieving loot from under the Warden's watchful presence requires skill, courage, and preparation. Successfully looting an ancient city is an achievement that players remember and share, a personal milestone in their Minecraft journey. The city becomes more than a location, it becomes a story, a trial that tests and defines the player. The community has created extensive guides and tutorials for exploring the ancient city, covering everything from gear recommendations to optimal looting routes. These resources help new players approach the challenge with confidence, providing strategies for avoiding the Warden and maximizing loot. Yet even with guides, the ancient city remains tense and unpredictable, as no amount of preparation can eliminate the danger entirely. The guides themselves become part of the city's lore, player-created knowledge passed down like survival tips from one generation of explorers to the next. The ancient city's impact on Minecraft's meta has been significant. The introduction of the Deep Dark and the Warden forced players to reconsider their assumptions about danger and challenge. Before the ancient city, most threats in Minecraft could be overcome with better gear, more resources, or clever tactics. The Warden changed this, introducing a threat that cannot be easily brute forced. This shift has influenced how players approach other challenges, encouraging more thoughtful and strategic gameplay across the board. The ancient city's aesthetic has inspired builds and projects throughout the Minecraft community. Players recreate the city's architecture in their own worlds, using deep slate, soul lanterns, and skulk to capture the haunting atmosphere. Some builds expand on the city's themes, imagining what the ruins might have looked like before their fall, or what other structures the ancient builders might have created. These creative interpretations keep the ancient city alive in the community's imagination, ensuring that its influence extends far beyond the original structure. The ancient city's music, or rather its lack thereof, is a key part of its atmosphere. Unlike many biomes and structures that have ambient music tracks, the ancient city is largely silent. This silence creates space for the sounds of the environment, the faint hum of skulk, the distant echo of footsteps, the sudden shriek of a sensor to dominate the player's attention. The absence of music makes every sound feel more significant, more threatening. It is a masterclass in using silence as a tool, showing how the removal of sound can be just as powerful as its addition. The ancient city's lighting design is carefully balanced to create tension without making navigation impossible. The soul lanterns provide just enough light to see the immediate surroundings, but leave vast stretches of the city in shadow. This selective illumination forces players to bring their own light sources, but using torches or lanterns risks triggering skulk sensors. The lighting becomes a puzzle in itself, as players must decide when to risk additional light and when to navigate by the faint glow of soul fire alone. The balance between visibility and safety is constantly shifting. The ancient city's integration with the broader world of Minecraft is seamless. While it is a unique and distinct location, it does not feel out of place in the game's universe. The use of deep slate and other materials ties it to the underground, while the soul lanterns connect it to the nether. The skulk introduces new mechanics but builds on existing systems like vibrations and redstone. The city feels like a natural evolution of Minecraft's design, expanding the game's possibilities while maintaining its core identity. This integration is part of what makes the ancient city feel like it belongs, like it has always been waiting to be discovered. The ancient city's challenges extend beyond combat and exploration. The city also tests the player's ability to manage resources, plan routes, and make quick decisions under pressure. Do you have enough wool to create safe paths? Have you brought enough food to sustain a long exploration? Can you remember the way back to the surface if you need to flee? These logistical concerns add depth to the experience, making the ancient city a test of preparation and planning as much as skill and courage. The ancient city's place in Minecraft's narrative, such as it is, remains ambiguous. The game does not provide explicit story or lore through text or dialogue, instead relying on environmental storytelling and player interpretation. The ancient city is a key piece of this environmental narrative, offering clues and details that suggest a larger history. Yet the game never confirms or denies the theories players create, leaving the story open-ended. This ambiguity is both frustrating and liberating, allowing players to engage with the lore on their own terms. The ancient city's difficulty has made it a popular subject for content creators. Streamers and YouTubers often film their first encounters with the city, capturing the tension and fear in real time. These videos showcase the range of reactions the city provokes, from careful stealth to panicked flight to bold confrontation. Watching others experience the ancient city vicariously allows viewers to enjoy the drama and excitement without the personal risk, making it one of the most entertaining locations to watch others explore. The ancient city's design encourages replay. Even after successfully looting a city, players often return to test new strategies, search for missed loot, or simply experience the atmosphere again. The city's procedural generation means that each new ancient city is different, offering fresh layouts and challenges. This replayability ensures that the ancient city remains relevant long after the initial discovery, a location that continues to engage and challenge players across multiple playthroughs. The ancient city's cultural impact extends beyond gameplay. It has become a symbol of Minecraft's ability to evolve and surprise players, to introduce new experiences that feel fresh yet familiar. The city represents the game's commitment to exploration and discovery, to creating spaces that reward curiosity while punishing recklessness. In discussions about Minecraft's best updates and additions, the ancient city is frequently mentioned as a standout, a highlight of the game's ongoing development. The ancient city's silence is broken only by the sounds of Skulk and the player's own actions. The faint, organic hum of Skulk blocks, the sharp click of Skulk sensors activating, the piercing shriek of Skulk shriekers, all of these sounds create a soundscape that is both alien and oddly alive. The city feels less like a dead ruin and more like a sleeping organism, one that stirs when disturbed. This auditory design makes the city feel reactive and responsive, as though it is aware of the player's presence and reacting to it. The ancient city's ruins tell a story of sudden catastrophe. Unlike structures that show signs of gradual decay, the ancient city feels frozen in time, as though its inhabitants disappeared all at once. Chests are still full, candles are unlit but ready, and the architecture remains largely intact. This suggests that whatever happened to the builders was sudden and overwhelming, giving them no time to evacuate or prepare. The city becomes a snapshot of a moment of disaster, preserved in stone and Skulk. The ancient city's portal frame has become one of the most speculated about features in Minecraft. Players have tried everything to activate it, from placing specific items to performing rituals to using commands. Despite these efforts, the portal remains inert. Some believe this is intentional, that the portal will never be activated, serving only as a piece of lore and atmosphere. Others hold out hope for future updates, believing that the portal is a hint of content yet to come. The debate continues, keeping the mystery alive. The ancient city's treasures include some of the rarest items in Minecraft. Enchanted golden apples, also known as god apples, are found more frequently in ancient city chests than almost anywhere else. These items are incredibly valuable, offering powerful buffs that can save a player's life in dire situations. The presence of these apples suggests that the ancient builders valued health and survival highly, that they stockpiled resources for emergencies. Finding a god apple in the depths of the city feels like a gift from the past, a blessing from those who came before. The ancient city's connection to death is reinforced by the items found within. Echo shards, used to craft recovery compasses, tie the city to the concept of remembering the dead. Swift sneak enchantment books, found exclusively in ancient city chests, allow players to move faster while sneaking, a mechanic directly tied to avoiding the Warden. Even the god apples suggest preparation for mortal danger. Every item in the city seems designed around the themes of death, memory, and survival, creating a cohesive narrative through loot. The ancient city's depths make it one of the lowest structures in Minecraft. Descending to the city requires passing through multiple layers of stone, deep slate, and caves. The journey down is often as challenging as the city itself, with players navigating treacherous terrain, managing resources, and avoiding other dangers. By the time players reach the city, they are already deep in survival mode, their nerves heightened, and their resources depleted. This makes the arrival at the ancient city feel earned, a reward for perseverance and skill. The ancient city's atmosphere is enhanced by subtle particle effects. Skulk blocks emit faint particles that drift upward, creating a sense of movement and life. The Warden's chest glows with pulsing light, its particles shifting and swirling. Even the darkness effect applied by the Warden has its own visual signature, a spreading shadow that creeps across the screen. These particle effects add layers of visual interest, making the city feel dynamic and alive despite its silence and stillness. The ancient city's legacy in Minecraft is still being written, As the game continues to evolve, the city remains a touchstone, a benchmark for atmospheric design and environmental storytelling. Future updates may expand on the city's lore, add new mechanics, or even activate the mysterious portal. Or the city may remain as it is, a perfect encapsulation of mystery and danger, a place where players can descend into the dark and test their courage against the unknown. Either way, the ancient city has secured its place as one of Minecraft's most memorable and impactful additions. And so, as we reach the end of our journey through the ancient city and the domain of the Warden, we find ourselves returning to the surface, carrying with us the echoes of what we have seen. The city remains below, silent and patient, waiting for the next explorer to descend into its halls. The Warden continues its eternal patrol, guardian of secrets that may never be fully understood. The skulk spreads, pulsing with dark energy, feeding on the vibrations of a world that moves above it, and the mysteries remain, unanswered and perhaps unanswerable, lingering in the darkness like whispers in the void. May your own journeys into the deep dark be filled with caution and wonder, and may you find rest now as you drift toward sleep, the stories of the ancient city echoing softly in your dreams. Thank you for joining me tonight, and remember, wherever you are listening from, the darkness is always waiting, patient and still, just beneath the surface of all we know. Sleep well, friends, and may your adventures carry you safely home.